Welcome to Metal Wani. With us today, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Joey Vera of Armored Saint and Fates Warning. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Cheers. Now, win hands down. The first Armored Saint album in 5 years is set to release early next month. How excited are you and the band feeling right now?
Well, we're always excited to put out a new record, so this is no exception. We're really proud of this record and
Mhm.
very happy with the way it turned out. So we can't wait for the masses to hear it. Sure.
Awesome. Now, you guys being one of those bands, who have always remained underrated despite the delivery of top-notch heavy metal. But when I listen to Win Hands Down, it's easily yet another addition to the slew of excellent heavy metal records that you guys have put out over the period of so many years. So, congratulations for that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Now, how have the fans responded to the video which has come out? And I'm sure their hits in the YouTube are increasing. So, any positive response from the fans?
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of great response. The label's pretty much already released three records out there. I mean, three songs out there, sorry.
Mhm.
And the response from everyone is great. We seem to be, connecting with people, and our fans are digging what we're doing, and we just we try to make good music, and
Mhm.
that's first and foremost. And it's nice to hear when people get it.
Right. That's cool. And for you personally, as a musician, what does the album title "Win Hands Down" mean to you?
Well, that's the the phrase comes from horse racing,
Hmm.
and it refers to winning very easily, winning something, just doing something that's a bit effortless, let's say,
Hmm.
um, in particular when it comes to racing. But I think it applies for us as well in that we are finally in this place, maybe emotionally and mentally,
Hmm.
where we are really, you know, not really trying so hard anymore, not
Okay.
trying to impress anybody or please someone else or search for some identity, some of these
Yeah.
things we've had trouble with in the past.
Hmm.
So we sort of have this sense of like,
Freedom.
yeah, we just feel very much like at ease these days. And maybe
Hmm.
it's getting older, maybe it's just being an older person and going through life and having the experiences and feeling like you're, I don't know, just a bit more relaxed. So
That's awesome.
that sort of applies to the title, at least for me anyway.
That's awesome. Now listening to the album is like exploring the possibilities of those catchy elements, chants, hooks, and that uncommon song structure. Now, the beauty about it is it's very simple but memorable as well in terms of vocal melodies. So, which makes it more like an enjoyable ride for fans. Now, when you guys get into the writing mode, how much of a role does, let's say, each individual member take in the writing process?
Well, the writing process has changed. It's been morphing through our entire career. It's always been changing,
Hmm.
and it's usually due to the dynamics of personalities in the group.
Right.
But since around, oh, I would say, since around Revelation, when we first got back together in 2000. It sort of began to go through this filter system and filtering through myself and through John. And over the years since then, it's really kind of become sort of evident that John and I, when we write together, we really get into this bubble and we sort of steamroll through ideas and we produce a
Nice.
lot of material
Hmm.
that we just produce a lot of material that's in our opinion good quality.
Right.
So the other guys in the group, I mean, they have a voice, of course, to they have a voice and they often give ideas, but it filters through John and I
Yeah. Hmm.
first. But during this process, this thing just kind of steamrolls, as I said before, and most of the guys just sort of like take a step back and go, you know what, I don't really need to be involved in this
Hmm.
because Joey and John are on a roll. Let them go with it. And so as a result, John and I end up writing most of the material these days.
That's cool.
There was one collaboration on with a full head of steam. That was a collaboration that was ignited by an idea that Phil had, Phil
Hmm.
Sandoval. So he submitted this thing that was basically some parts, and then again it went through me, and I completely took it apart like a car, and completely took it apart and rebuilt it. And then in the process, I used an idea that Jeff had, and
Hmm.
Gonzo had a little part in that too. And so that one is the group effort
Awesome.
is that song.
That's wonderful. Now, talking about your bass lines, it's always good to see the first track, Win Hands Down, come into the picture, and that beautiful work on the bass from you, followed by the riffs and stuff. So, what sort of approach for you as a bass player? What sort of approach do you take when you write the songs? Is it more like try something out? Because when I listen to your stuff with Fates Warning, my mind is blown away. Now with the same the feeling I got when I listened to Win Hands Down. So what sort of motivates you to write this stuff and challenge, of course.
Well, I write everything on guitar. I never write anything with the bass.
That's awesome.
I'm a, I'm a bass player first and foremost, but when it comes to writing music, I would say 98% of the time I'm writing on the guitar or a keyboard or something,
Wow.
but not so much on the bass guitar. But when it comes to putting the bass part into the music,
Hmm.
um, my approach is always the same, and I'm always trying to think of the best way possible to serve the song. And it also incorporates the drums.
Right.
I often will write the rhythm section parts. I will often write them pretty specifically. Um, so I'll write the drum parts and the bass parts together at the
Wow.
same time. And then when it comes time, when I go to the next phase and give it to Gonzo, um, I usually give him sort of these parameters like, okay, this section really has to stay specific,
Hmm.
but this section can be open for interpretation and you can make it your own kind of a thing. So I try to give him some freedom to express himself as well. But when as far as the bass parts go, it's like if I'm writing a part, there's a specific part that I need to write to serve the part of that song, whether it's a groove or maybe it's a little bit more melodic or
Right.
maybe it's just straightforward like Cliff Williams' AC/DC.
Hmm.
And so those things are part of the big picture. So that usually what dictates it for me is what does the song need? And I throw my ego out the door because I don't need to try to make something impressive
Right.
for the sake of being impressive.
Hmm.
But if it's a time where I feel like I want a lot of splash and energy and I want chaos,
Hmm.
then I'll let myself go and say, okay, go crazy in this part.
Okay. That's cool. Now, talking about John's vocals, I mean, for most of us fans, for us, John Bush is the definition of metal when it comes to vocals. Now, you've been together, working for so many years. What sort of, excitement does he bring to the studio when he's about to record his vocals? Because on this album, again, he's on top of the game.
Yeah, he's been taking care of himself for the last 5 years or so, maybe longer. That's
Hmm.
8 years now. He's just really gotten on this track of like taking care of his voice and warming up, warming down, practicing, staying healthy with his diet and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And it really has allowed him to, have his voice stay and almost sound better than it did when he was in his 20s,
Right.
as he's getting older. But we have a great working relationship. I will I feel like I've known him for so long and I know his voice so well that
Hmm.
I try to write music that I think is going to really be a good bedrock for his voice to
Nice.
be
Hmm.
able to shine in, you know. So I try to write music that's I think will complement his voice. And when I'm
Hmm.
writing it, I'm almost hearing in my mind, okay, this is what he's going to sing. But I'll never tell him what to sing. I'll just, in my mind, I just have these ideas. And so I give him demo tapes. I make pretty elaborate demos when I write, like full on 32 tracks and overdubs and all kinds of crazy
Wow.
stuff. And so when he gets the song, it's almost like a full record. And so he'll drive around in his car and he jots down notes on a piece of paper and writes some lyrics. And
Hmm.
then he comes in one day and he usually will just start singing, and I immediately turn around and go, "Yeah, that's what I was thinking," you know. I'd say
Bullseye.
like, yeah, bullseye. And then usually about nine times out of ten, he just comes in and it's like, well, that's exactly what the song needs, you know. And
Awesome.
it's usually spot on. And sometimes he tries, he wants to push himself, you know, he wants to push himself outside of his comfort zone. And
Hmm.
sometimes it goes a little too far, and I got to reel him back in. But
Right.
I mean, we try to be creative with everything that we do, and John's written some great melodies and great lyrics for this, and great performances too,
Right.
for this record. And it's just we have such a good time when we work together. It's like it's just fun. This doesn't even
Yeah.
feel like work. It's just a
Hmm.
lot of fun, really.
That's awesome. Like you said, trying to, explore the musical spectrum. So for you being a member of Fates Warning as well, it must be, really two different, experiences. But do you enjoy playing in, one over the other? And on the other side, do you find one more fulfilling musically?
Well, there's so it's there have I have different places in my heart for both of those bands,
Hmm.
and those two bands they fill up, they pretty much fill up everything that I got because I've been with Fates for 17 years now,
Yeah.
and it's a long time, and I got a long history with these guys.
Hmm.
I love them as people, and musicians are great, and we have a good time. My role in that band is a little bit different. Well, it's a lot different than my role as an Armored Saint.
Hmm.
Completely different hats that I wear in both places.
Hmm.
You know, uh, I could go into detail about how they're different, but it would be another 15 minutes of that. But I don't really favor one or the other. I mean, they're just so different. They're both different animals. They both bring me joy in different ways. Um, they both have challenges in their own
Right.
way, different challenges, but they both have challenges. I mean, they're just two different things completely. I can never say that I enjoy one more than the other. Sometimes being in Fates Warning is a little easier to be
Hmm.
in because I don't have so much emotional history tied to it, and
Okay.
it's a little bit more like I'm just here to be a team player and to have a great time, and
Hmm.
my contributions are respected, and I love that, and I'm one of the guys, so that makes it a little bit easier, for me
Okay.
to be in that position. When I'm an Armored Saint, it's a little different. I've known these guys since we were in grade school, since we were
Right.
9 or 10 years old.
Hmm.
So we're like brothers, and with that comes, as you probably know, it's like doing business with a family member.
Right.
It's a little bit can be tricky, and it's a little harder. There's a lot more sort of open wounds there
Yes.
from years back, and there's all kinds of stuff, and so it's a little bit more like I got a little bit more writing on that way. There's emotional stuff that comes with it, but the payoff is great. I mean, I, I when I'm in this position where I'm the producer of the record, and the dominant songwriter and everything, and
Right.
it's gratifying also. It's a
True.
different kind of a gratification that
Absolutely.
comes with that as well. So
That's true. That's true. So what's with the
yeah.
Fates Warning? So any, are you guys working on some new stuff? Because it's been quite some time since, the previous album was out. So Any plans?
Yeah, we're currently writing, and we have a few songs already written,
Mm-hmm.
and we're just keeping the writing going over the next few months. We have some tentative plans to actually start recording the new record just before the end of the year.
Okay.
Hopefully that happens, and if that does, you can look for a new record sometime in hopefully late spring of next year.
Okay.
And we are also doing some touring in October. We're going out into the United States to take a break from the writing. We're going to go out and do some shows for about 3 weeks in the United States.
That's awesome. Cool,
Yep.
cool, fantastic. So, how about taking Ahmed Said live on road with this album? I'm sure fans are waiting for some tour dates. I know you guys are playing with Queensryche in UK. I'm definitely gonna catch you guys there.
Cool. Yeah, we're actually wrapping up a short run that we did with Saxon here in the U.S.
Yeah.
Currently doing some shows. We play this weekend, two more shows, one in our hometown and one up in San Jose,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next day in Hollywood. And shows have been killer. Just about every show is almost like sold out or near sold out. So it's been really, really great with the Saxon guys. In a couple weeks after that, we go to play Hellfest in France.
Yeah.
And then after that, we play in July, we play a headline show in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Just before we go to Europe to do the shows you're speaking of,
Right.
we're going back to Europe, and we're doing Wacken, Bloodstock, Alcatraz festivals. We're doing Free and Easy Festival in Munich. And then we're doing some shows with Queensryche, which should be a lot of fun.
Right.
And that also includes the show in London you mentioned, and Death
Yep.
Angel is also on that
Yep.
bill. So I'm looking forward to seeing those guys as well.
Jam
Queensryche
packed.
guys are great. Yeah, I mean it's going to be so much fun. We're looking forward to all those. And we also are working on putting out a second video sometime over the summer, so you can look out
Awesome.
for that as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's really cool. Now, Joy, you've always been asked this question, but for you, I mean, being a legendary musician, I mean, many people consider you as a bass idol because the way you are. So, do you think if you, as an artist, way back in '86, would have joined Metallica, and how your career would have been right now? But like, do you kind of look back on passing up that opportunity with regret, or do you still think that you made the right choice?
Well, I mean, I always feel like I made the right choice. I've never doubted the choice I made. I
Mhm.
mean, my life has been, the path I've been on has been like, I mean, it's been the best path ever. I've never had any complaints. I have a killer life, amazing experiences. I've got to play with some amazing musicians.
Right.
It's made me a better player, a better songwriter, better person. My wife and I have a children, and it's like, you know, you people ask me that, and you say, well, let's pretend that you erase all of your history, and what would your alternate universe be like? I mean,
Right.
I have no idea. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to imagine that because I'm so happy with
Happy.
the way that my life has turned out. So, you know, I don't. In all honesty, I've said this a few times too. Is like, I think I don't know that I would have been very happy with that situation. I
Mhm.
mean, financially, I mean, is does people know this already that money doesn't bring you happiness? So I mean,
Right.
I would be certainly I might be richer, or
Mhm.
or at least part of my career would have been richer. I mean, certainly Jason Newsted is an example that it,
Yeah.
it didn't last it didn't last forever for him either.
Mhm.
So there's a reason why my path has taken the path I'm taking is because I get a lot of fulfillment and a lot of
Satisfaction.
satisfaction from
Yeah.
the
As an
choices
artist.
that I make for myself and
Mhm.
the ability to express myself as a musician. And a big part of that is being a songwriter and actually making records. And I've made a lot of great music with not only Armored Saint, but with other people,
True.
with Engine, with Fates Warning. And if you were to take that away from me, I would just be a hollow, sad guy.
Yeah, I totally
So
understand.
granted, okay, well, you can say that, but you would be playing on Metallica records. But you know what? I would have no part of that.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that Metallica is all James and Lars, and they write the music and they make the decisions, and it's their thing, and it's a beautiful thing, and they're amazing at it, and they've created this amazing, wonderful thing that, they're the biggest metal band in the world.
Right.
I will always have respect for that, but I don't think it was in my heart to be the person in the back seat my entire life. So I can't even imagine it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I appreciate the way you express yourself always, whenever the discussion about this, I know it kind of gets a bit daddy that everybody asks you this question, but
Yeah, I understand it.
looking at your career, it's like majestic.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, I understand why people ask, because on the surface it seems very black and white, but
Yeah.
it's not. It's not a black and white situation. But if you stop and thought about it and really put it into perspective, you would see that, it's an interesting topic because, people, people's lives unfold based on the decisions they make.
Right.
So it's a curious thing, why people make certain decisions and why they don't make decisions, and I feel fortunate that I've so far I feel like I've made the right ones.
That's awesome. There definitely is.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I've made plenty of mistakes along the way, but I'm quite happy with.
It kind of made you a
everything.
better person, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Amazing choice. So before I conclude the interview, how about you define win hands down in just one sentence?
Well, okay, this is a biased definition, obviously, but to me, Win Hands Down is a big, rich, deep, and epic expression of where Armored Saint is in 2015.
Wow. Now that was expected from you, and it actually clearly reflects when your fans listen to the album. Folks, Joey Vera here on Metal Wani. Thank you very much for sparing some time. Make sure you guys grab the album. It's going to be up on June 6th by Metal Blade. Grab it right away.
Great. Thank you for having me. Much appreciated.